Hello dear students, we are reading chapter number 4, The Enemy, and in the previous video we read that how Dr. Sadao and the old journal made plan to kill the POW with the help of the private assassins. And when he came back to his home, so he decided that he would not tell to his wife about the plan, and he entered in the room of POW just to check on him. He was surprised when he entered in the room. He saw that the young man was out of his bed and he preparing to go out of the room, and he is going towards garden. And he said that why he is going to garden, right? And what is the plan in his mind, he wanted to know. So this is on page number 41, towards ending. We have to read from here. So please open your book on page number 41 and let's read from here. What is this? What is this? This I am reading here. What is this? He exclaimed. Who gave you permission to leave your room? I am not used to waiting for permission, Tom said gaily. Gosh, I feel pretty good again. But will the muscles on this side always feel stiff? Now, when the doctor saw him going out in the garden, so he exclaimed and asked him, what is this? Where are you going? Who gave you permission to leave the room? So he answered, the POW also answered that the name is highlighted here. What is the name? That is Tom. Okay. So the name of the POW is Tom, as we have read this earlier also, when he just told his name to Hannah. So Tom said gaily. So Tom was very happy. Gaily means happy, and he told him that he was not in a habit of taking permission before doing anything. He said that he felt good again, only just the muscles on the sides of his body were stiff and rigid. So he is just telling us that he is feeling happy and he wanted to just have a round outside in the garden. So that's why he was going outside. It is so, Sadao inquired, surprised. He forgot all else. Now, I thought I had provided against that, he murmured. He lifted the edge of the man's shirt and gazed at the healing wound. So when Sadao was surprised to hear that he is saying so, that the wound on one side is stiff and all that. So he forgot about his plan, that he wanted to kill him or something and like that. Now he just, when he's told about the wound, he just it is so he inquired that he was surprised to hear that, and he forgot all his work and said that he warned this man not to stand and walk. So he lifted the man's shirt, man's means POW shirt, and inspected that wound, that scar which was there, right? And he said that the massage could heal if it would not be healed by exercise. Clear? So this was his reaction on that. So here Dr. Sadao answered to this POW that the massage would heal this stiffness. It won't bother me much, the young man said. His young face was gaunt under the stubbly blonde beard. Say, doctor, I have got something I want to say to you. If I hadn't met a jack like you, well, I would not be alive today. I know that. Sadao bowed, but he could not speak. So what happened here? It won't bother me much. The man answered that the scar would not trouble him, and his face was gaunt. Gaunt is what? Gloomy. You can say weak, right? Kamzor. Under the stubbly blonde. Stubbly means unshaven. Blonde is what? Of yellowish color, as American has the color of their hair, right? So that blonde beard is, uski दाढ़ी भी yellow थी. Say, doctor, But he is saying that he wanted to thank Sadao, and said that if he had not been reached to him that day, then he would have died. Clear? I know that. So I know that he is saying कि if I मैं तुमसे नहीं मिला होता, if I had not reached to you, then I would have died. Right? Sure, Sadao bowed, but he could not speak. Here I want to tell you this word, this bowed. This, why I read this is bowed, B-O-W, bow. This is verb also, and this is a knot also, like this type of tie also, no, is a, this is called bow, this is called bow. But when it is verb, when it shows the action jhukna, then it is pronounced as bow, bow, bowed, okay, OU sound. But when it is about this knot or this tie, then it is bow, then it gives the sound of O. But when it is a verb, then it is ow sound, so bowed. Clear? So please do this carefully. Now here in these lines, the doctor is not saying anything. He just he didn't give any reaction to this, and he only bowed. He only bowed. So sure I know that Tom went on warmly. His big thin hands gripping a chair were white at the knuckles. Now, what is this knuckles? Knuckles are the joints of the fingers. जो हमारी उंगलियों में जो joint होते हैं, उंगलियों के जो joints होते हैं, that is called knuckles. I guess if all the Japs were like you, Japs, what here also he has used this word Jap, here also Jap he is using for Japanese, okay, there wouldn't have been a war. So here what Tom is doing, Tom is Tom was sure that, he added that he was sure that he would have died, and as he held the chair tightly because he was sitting there, so his hands were very thin because he was very weak, so the knuckles were turned white in color. The knuckles जो उसके हाथ के उंगलियों के जो joints हैं वो बिल्कुल white हो गए हैं, ठीक है, because he was very weak. और जब उसको चोट लगी थी तो बहुत सारा खून उसकी बॉडी से निकल गया था. So that time also that was a lot of blood loss was there. So this is the reason, and although he is very weak too. So this indicated that he was still weak and had not recovered completely. So Tom added that if all the Japanese people would have been like Sadao, then the war would not have happened. कि जो भी आज ये हो रहा है, हम दोनों, मैं एज अमेरिकन और तुम एज जापानीज, जो भी ये सह रहे हो वो ऐसा नहीं होता अगर सारे जापानीज तुम्हारे ही तरह होते तो. Perhaps, Sadao said with difficulty, and now I think you had better go back to bed. Now Sadao said that maybe that could be true, what he is saying, that there would not be any war. So he was agreed with that, and he added that the man should go to sleep now. This POW or this Tom had to go to sleep now. So he helped the boy back into bed and then bowed. Again it is what? Bowed. Good night, he said. So doctor helped Tom to lay in the bed, bowed to him and said good night. This was the first time he is talking too much with the man, right? Sadao slept badly that night. Why? Because he just made the plan with the help of the journal to kill him. The assassins would be there in their home that night to kill Tom. So Sadao slept badly that night. Time and time again he woke, thinking he heard the rustling of footsteps, the sound of a twig broken on a stone displaced in the garden, a noise such as men might make who carried a burden. Now this was a natural feeling actually. जब भी हमारे दिल में कुछ डर बैठ जाता है और हमें लगता है कि ऐसा होगा, सपोज़ हमें ये लग रहा है कि हम अकेले हैं घर पे और हमें लग रहा है कि घर में चोर घुस गया, तो अगर चोर नहीं भी आया है तो भी हमें हमारी इमेजिनी इस तरह से हो जाती है कि हम लोगों को अजीब अजीब तरह की आवाज़ें सुनाई देने लग जाती हैं, कि जैसे चोर आया, उसने दरवाज़ा खोला, लॉक खोला, आपका जो जो बोल्ट की आवाज़, आपका गेट है उसको खोला, और ऐसी कुछ खुलने की आवाज़ आई, जबकि ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता. दिस इज़ अवर इमेजरी, राइट. तो ये चीज़ होने लगी सदाव के साथ भी उस रात. So Sadao slept badly that night, and he was restless all through the night. He felt that the hired killers, the assassins, were there to kill the man. He imagined hearing the sound of the footsteps, as I told you. That was the imagery, he could listen also that. So he, branches being broken, stones moving as man walked on them, and he imagined that he heard such a noise, which indicate that someone were carrying, the dead body of American, the load. So that load would be obviously of that, the dead body of American. So all this anxiety kept him awake that night. He could not sleep. The next morning he made the excuse to go first into the guest room. Now, because he could not sleep, he knew that was in the plan. So he could not sleep actually, and in the morning he made an excuse that he would go to the man's room first. Generally what happened, Hannah used to go there, but that morning he wanted to go there. Doctor himself wanted to go in the room of American first. If the American were gone, he then could simply tell Hannah that so the journal has directed. But when he opened the door, he saw at once that there on the pillow was shaggy blonde head. So here he just planned when he was entering in the room, right? So if Tom was gone, he would tell Hannah that this was the plan, this was the order by the journal. So that's why the body was just removed by the assassin, and he was killed by the assassins and all that. So he would tell him. But when he opened the door, he saw the man had lots of yellowish colored. Okay, he saw at once there on the pillow was shaggy blonde head. What I said, बहुत बड़े बड़े से उसके बाल हैं. He could not hear the peaceful breathing. He could hear the peaceful breathing of sleep, and he closed the door again quietly. So when he opened the door, he saw that man, means that boy with the yellowish colored hair. He was asleep there, and he could also listen the sound of his breathing, right? And Sadao closed the door of the room. He is asleep, he told Hannah. He is almost well to sleep like that. What shall we do with him? Hannah whispered her old refrain. Now what is this refrain? It is, when we repeat something after some time. So because she was worried, तो थोड़े टाइम बाद हर रोज़ उससे पूछती थी कि हमें इसका क्या करना चाहिए, हमने उसको क्यों शेल्टर किया है. तो she repeated her refrain here, she repeated her the words, and she asked that here she asked when Sadao went out. So he said to Hannah that Tom was sleeping, and he added that now he was well and did not need to sleep like that, कि अब इतना सोने की ज़रूरत थोड़े है, अब तो ठीक हो गया. So Hannah asked Sadao that what should they do with this man. Sadao shook his head and promised her that he would do something in 2 days, in a day or 2. So फिर उसको एक बार प्रॉमिस करता है कि मैं पक्का कुछ करता हूँ, डेफिनेटली मैं कुछ करता हूँ. But certainly he thought the second night must be the night, because he had made the plan. And there rose a wind that night, and he listened to the sound of bending bows and whistling partitions. अब because he thought कि आज शायद जो जर्नल हैं वो assassins को भेज देंगे. So that night was also windy. He heard the sound made by the branches as they went, bent due to the wind, and the partitions, जो दरवाजे थे, उनकी whistling की आवाज़, sound की आवाज़, हवा की आवाज़ बार बार उसको सुनाई दे रही थी. मतलब जब second night थी प्लान बनाने के बाद, 7th day, 8th day भी उसने वेट किया. सॉरी 7th डे भी उसने वेट किया, क्योंकि 7th डे जिस दिन सेशन सर्वेंट्स गए उसी दिन तो वो सडाओ जनरल के घर गया था, तो वहाँ पे उसने प्लान बनाया, उसी दिन उसने वेट किया सेशंस के आने का, लेकिन नहीं आए। अब 8th डे है, तो 8th डे भी वो स्लीपलेस था, एंड he was just waiting for the killers. They would come that night. Hannah woke to ought we not, अब जब ये आवाज़ें आ रही हैं, so Hannah भी आवाज़ सुन के उठ गई। Ought we not to go and close the sick man's partition, he asked. And Hannah woke up and she asked that should they go and close the partition of Tom's room? But Sadao refused that night. No, Sadao said, he is able now to do it for himself. So he said that he will do it, he would do him himself, because he is capable to do that now. He keep on walking here and there, so he could do that. But the next morning the American was still there. Now the next morning, to his extreme surprise, when Dr. Sadao went in the room of American, so he was also there in the room. Then the third night, of course, must be the night. Now he is waiting once again, right? Then the third night means the 9th day, of course, must be the night. The wind changed to quiet rain, and the garden was full of the sound of dripping eaves and running springs. So here Sadao was hopeful that the third night after the plan might they might means the accession might come on the third night, but instead of the wind was there, rain was there, too heavy wind was there that night. Okay, now here you have to underline this word eaves. This eaves is what? Suppose this is the roof and this is the wall, right? This is the wall here. So this projection of the roof, this is roof here. This projection, this one, right? This portion is known as eave, right? So that overhangs on the wall of the building. So this portion is known as eaves. So here the sound, he could listen the sound, right, of the wind, of the strong wind, and the strong rain was there that night. He could listen the sound. Sadao slept a little better, but he woke at the sound of a crash and leaped to his feet. Here now actually the water was he could listen the sound at all. So Sadao slept a little and jumped as he heard a loud sound, because he was sleepless actually for last 2 nights. So he slept for some time, and he crashed means he jumped, right? He jumped on the bed as he heard the sound of something. A loud noise was there. What was that? Hannah cried. The baby woke at her voice and began to wail. I must go and see. So here what was that? When they heard that sound, both of them, right, just woke up with that sound, and Hannah cried. She wanted to know what is it. The baby woke at her voice and began to wail. Wail means to cry. What is the meaning of wail? Wail means to cry, right? The baby cried. I must go and see. And she is saying that मैं जाती हूँ और देख के आती हूँ कि हुआ क्या है. But he held and would not let her move. Sadao, she cried, what is the matter with you? Don't go, he muttered. Don't go. Now, when Hannah heard that loud crash, so she woke up, and the baby also started crying, and Hannah wanted to go to check that what is going on outside. So Hannah screamed at him. He stopped her that don't go, there's no need to go out. At that reaction of Sadao, Hannah screamed at him. So screamed means to cry, shout, and asked what the matter was, why he is too disturbed and why he is not letting her go and check what is going on outside, right. So because he was so scared that there could be the assassins outside, right. So that's why he was not allowing her to go. So don't go, he muttered. Don't go means, muttered means to speak slowly. So he spoke slowly कि मत जाओ, बाहर जाने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. His terror infected her and she stood breathless, waiting. There was only silence. Together they crept back into the bed, the baby between them. Now Hannah also too got scared that she also was without breath, and she waited for a time, and there was a silence. Both of them crawled back into the room, into the bed, and there was a baby lying on them on the bed between them. So what was that noise? We will read this in the next video. It may happen that assassins would be there, okay. They would have killed Sadao, or what else had happened, that we have to read in the next video. Thank you very much.